Welcome back to Offroad Outlaws, y'all, and this is how to go over 1,000 miles an hour. And that is not any kind of exaggeration or lie. These boost pads out here on the map TRS Long Road Drag, that is the name of the map, I'll put it up on the screen as well. This allows you, if you have a car that is tuned for it, or truck, to go, as we are now, over 1,000 miles an hour. And if you weren't looking at the speedometer, you might have missed it, because now it says 118 and it's slowly going down. But rest assured, it didn't get to that number until it passed 999 miles an hour. And when you're going this fast in Offroad Outlaws, it almost looks like slow motion until you see some of the fences and guardrails flying past you on the sides of the road itself. So make no mistake, the game was not designed in any way to run at speeds of this level, but as you can see, now we're down over 1,000, we're down under 1,000, now we're under 950, we're getting kind of close to 900. But the strange thing about this is that if you give it throttle or even give it nitrous, it will actually slow it down even more, because there's not enough power, at least at this point, there's not enough power that you can put into a car in this game to actually keep it going at speeds this fast. I mean, keep in mind, we're still going like over 700 miles an hour. So again, when you're talking about this much momentum, the only way to achieve this much momentum is through those booster pads, and that is really it. Now, I've tried a few different vehicles with this formula that I'm going to show y'all a little bit later. I've tried it with the Cat-Eye Duramax, I've tried it with the Dodge Charger, and I've also tried it with this, and this performed the best out of the three that I tried. I'm sure that there's others out there that perform really, really well as well with this setup, and what y'all can do is, once you see what the setup on this thing looks like, because after I walk you through the tune and everything, you'll kind of be able to take that setup and then put it on something else, and then adjust it and test it and adjust it and test it to figure out what works best for your specific vehicle. Now, the Cat-Eye Duramax could only manage about 840 miles an hour. I say only 840 miles an hour, but still, 840 miles an hour is a chunk. But even then, it didn't get me over my target of 1,000, which after seeing some people in the community posting their 1,000+ mile an hour runs, I was like, this seems wild, and I need to figure out what they're doing, and I also need to get in on it. So we've got Solid Axle Pro heavy duty axles on this thing, and the tune is really, really simple on the suspension front. It's axis width 0 front and back. Damping is untouched front and back. So it's 2,000 in the front, 1,000 in the rear. Rear steer and shocks, shock size, that's all been left alone. Stiffness is the most important thing, though. We've got it up at 40,000, 40,500 to 40,700 in the front and the rear. That gives us resistance against the issue of bouncing back up in the air. So if you're having trouble with your vehicle bouncing up in the air as you're going down the boost pads, make sure that you dial up that stiffness. Now, our travel is a little under 0.3, I believe it was like 0.29, which is not all that much, but it's enough for it to take up the subtle bumps in the road that you're going to run into, because again, when you're going multiple hundreds of miles an hour, something that might look like a tiny little, minute bump is going to be enormous, absolutely gigantic once you get up to that speed. Now, the wheel width and radius is not necessarily as important as you might think. I did a couple of tests with some other vehicles, and I was running wheel radius between like 0.8 and 1.5, and the top speed didn't change all that much. I also wanted to go ahead and run this thing on the dyno so I could show y'all exactly what it was making, and it turned out to actually be really, really high. It was making around 1,400 horsepower and 2,300 foot-pounds of torque, which is an absolutely monstrous amount, but when you're talking about the speeds that we're talking about here, the booster pads are really the only way you're ever going to achieve them. Now, if you've ever experimented with stuff like this in different vehicles before, let me know in the comments down below what vehicles you have used and what vehicles you have had success with. Now, I'm sure that there's going to be a couple of comments that are going to be like, you know, I used insert random vehicle here, and I went 3,000 miles an hour. Your record is slow. And I'm like, well, I mean, you know what? I guess so. By the way, that is the name of the map once again right there, TRS Long Road Drag. A lot of people were saying that they couldn't find it. However, that could possibly be due to the fact that when you actually type in TRS Long Road Drag, there are actually a lot of maps under that same specific name, and I don't really know why. I don't know if it's people trying to sort of do copycat maps and, you know, try to, like, pick up more users because it's the same map name or something like that. I'm not sure. But either way, once you spawn in, this is where you're literally just gonna turn right. And once you turn right, you can shift all the way up through the gears until you get to 5th, and you're like 600, 700, 800, 900, 1,000, but really all it does is reset to 100 again. And I achieved on this run a top speed of 1,145 miles an hour. It is ridiculous. And then I, well, slid off the edge, and that was that, and then we were gone. Now, I do want to say that I've seen some comments lately that have said things like, oh, this update wasn't enough. Why weren't there more trucks? Why weren't there more trucks? And here's the thing, you know, trucks are just one small part of an update. Take all of the things that they either fixed in the background or added to the map editor, for example. There's a lot of things that they did in this update, and they also have a lot of different stuff on their plates right now with the lineup of games that they're running. Like, they're not only running Offroad Outlaws, they're also running No Limit Drag Racing 2.0, and also now American Marksman. By the way, I think this is the most backflips in one go I have ever done with a vehicle this long. I mean, this wheelbase is like, I don't even know how long it is. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculously long is how long it is. Now, I tried to climb into this, you know, massive plateau, but every time I tried from that angle, it bottomed out the front end, and so I was like, maybe I shouldn't do that. Now, I will also say that it shocks me. It absolutely shocks me that the limo was able to do the speed that it did while still having the flotation tires on it. These tires have not been switched out yet. They're not mud tires. They're not street tires. They're not like somewhere in between. These are the wacky new flotation tires. I didn't take them off. I legitimately just left them on and changed the size and then went over 1,100 miles an hour with them. And that was pretty much, well, that. It didn't even phase it. It just was like, okay, this is a boost pad and this is what we're doing now. Now, I did see a little like break in the wall right there, and I don't know how you're supposed to get over there, but it's clear that there's a way to do it, and I am going to figure it out. I don't know how to do it yet, but I am absolutely going to figure out. Just keep that in mind, and when I do, I will make sure to share it with y'all. There's also another drag strip that you can run over here on the side, and you can kind of see the statue out there in the distance over the wall. But again, the wall never opened up like I was expecting it to. Like, I was expecting to all of a sudden see like an opening in the wall that I could be like, oh yeah, we're just gonna like pop in right there, or like turn into the right or whatever. Now keep in mind though, this particular drag strip is not extremely long. It's still long in comparison to most, but it's not anywhere near as long as the ones with the booster pads or the ones that go on for like, you know, what does the sign claim, like 30 miles or something like that? Something ridiculously long like that. This is nowhere near that long. It just kind of goes down here to the end and stops. But again, if you want a map that will really truly tell whose vehicle is the fastest in a straight line, this map works really, really well for that. And it's also got a lot of fun little extra features that you can play around with. Now, if you enjoyed this video in the brand new Offroad Outlaws update, make sure to to let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below, and also let me know what y'all would like to see, because your ideas are one of the main driving factors behind the videos that you see here on this channel. So make sure to keep that in mind and leave any and all of your suggestions down there in the comments below. But that is going to do it for this one, y'all. Thank you once again so much for watching, and so much as well for all of your support on the Offroad Outlaws videos. It truly means a ton. And with that, I will see y'all in the next one.